Coming out of the dark, coming out of this cave. It's taken me months of days and years to find my way. My face in the mirror doesn't look the same, but I recognize a light in my eyes that never did fade. And I'm gonna find, yeah, find and revive the me that remains.
I want to talk about the title track of the album.
Okay.
The Me That Remains. I feel like all of the conversation and all of the songs are dealing with this, but you know, you shared how you had that really serious back accident a couple years ago, and you talk about that, about coming out of the cave, finding something of yourself. But you said something. There's a line that is in there. You sing about not recognizing your face in the mirror, but the light in your eyes remains the same. It did not fade. And it's obvious that that incident has forever changed you, but it's also strengthened you in some way. Is it fair to say that it gave you a whole new you to get to know?
I love how you said that. Yeah, it's been a gift of discovery. Even now, I guess, because the other day I was very impatient with myself, and I felt like, I've always been a slow talker, but my processing was just so slow, and I was looking for what used to be a compost. I had a little compost container, and I was just looking through some storage area trying to find it, and I pulled out, for whatever reason, that bike helmet that I had on in the bike rack was in that storage area. And I'd been frustrated with myself. I've never done this before. 3 years later, I clipped on that bike helmet, and as I'm walking to the bathroom to look in the mirror, I thought about the neurosurgeon who said to somebody in the hospital room, if she hadn't had that helmet on, she would have been in the morgue. And for the first time, 3 years later, clipping on the helmet, and I went and I looked in the mirror, and it's, all these dents from the middle of my forehead to over my right ear. And in that helmet, and it reshaped it. And I thought, hey, ease up on yourself. Ease up. Could have been otherwise. I feel like the real, a gift of appreciation for what is. It doesn't just happen to you. However it is that I see all of us differently is because I had to be willing to accept myself as I am right now. I feel pretty sharp, but there were several months I did not feel sharp. There were months where I was afraid, and and I remember saying to Vince, what if I'm never back? And what if this is as good as it gets? And he said, Amy, there are brilliant musicians that have a stroke and can never play their instrument again. All we have ever had is the day we're in. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh, okay. All right. And then I don't know. So that's a big invitation, because how much of our lives do we spend going, here's where I want to go, like projecting ourselves into the future, a lot of that. And there's something about the recovery process, whatever it is, it's essential to be in the moment you're in, to say, where's the next step? And I remember I friends were staying in our house. We had some house guests, and they said, tell me anything you're working on. And I said, well, I don't have any music. I could read you a lyric. And we had recorded, but I didn't have anything on my phone or available to play. And it was a husband and wife, and anyway, I read the lyrics to The Me That Remains, and I look up, and she's wiping her eyes. Mm-hmm. I sang at a gathering in the loft of a barn that song. I just barely limped my way through it. It was new. And I look up, and this killer singer-songwriter who'd been writing songs with veterans trying to deal with their PTSD, the healing through creativity, she's wiping her eyes. And I came over and I said, "Are you okay?" And she said, "I had a baby a couple of years ago, and I have so lost myself in it. I love my child, but I'm just trying to," that song just spoke. I'm trying to figure out who I am now. And like, I don't know, there's something about when you say something honest about yourself and then share it, other people go, raise their hand, "That's me, that's me, that's me."
Yeah.
And all the details are different.
Yeah.
But the experience is shared. And so, yeah, and I love that. And I thought, well, that's a reason for each of us to be vulnerable about our story, to be courageous enough to say, so my process involves recovering from this, or learning from that, or, here's the steep learning curve I'm in the middle of. I don't think I've quite figured this out. And you want to create connection with people, be vulnerable.
And that's the human part of the human experience.
Yes.
I've always believed that. Since 2013, I was looking up, writing lyrics for a song, how many humans have ever lived? So I would go on Google. And at the time, I guess 2010, MIT and Harvard had did a joint study, and they came up with the result of 110 billion humans. I was like, that's a lot. It's a lot of people. And I thought about it a little bit more. And I'm in New Mexico, so I'm looking at the stars. And I'm like, okay, so for all the stars in our galaxy, there have been that many human beings. Really mind-blowing and beautiful. Then I said, wow, no matter if they were 2 days long or 120 years long, these lives, they were all a human life. Everyone different. Everyone different. But they were all a human life. That shared part of the we, that the old man wisely told you. I have a funny relationship with resilience, We look at it and we're like, man, you're so resilient. I could easily ask a question, Amy, you've been so resilient in this recovery. But sometimes I think, man, in a perfect world, we wouldn't need resilience, right? Things would be changed up for us a little bit. I was younger, beginning to think of that. But then I recognized that hardships come. It's how you respond to them. It's how you open yourself up and humble yourself, and in a way say thank you for these lessons that I can get. And it thinks about Nothing Like a Sunny Day, that song. It's like, yeah, it's going to be tough, kid.
Yeah.
At times. But again, as I said earlier in the conversation, the sun is going to come up.
Yes.
It's a hurricane comes and blasts away a forested area. That sun comes out the next day once that storm passes, and what happens? Plant life begins to grow again. Animals come back in to this habitat that's been decimated.
That's right.
To live.
Yeah.
We've got to learn to place ourselves there. Not necessarily rely on the things that we've been able to build to protect us, but the things that we inherently have to help us through those situations. And the song is just it's nice, and it's like that arc of the album. When Nothing Like a Sunny Day comes in, it's like, okay, oh, I get it now. We have gone through some lessons that you've shared us with your own life, and lessons that we can pick up from everyone else. But here that is, and it's like, and it's not even the end of the album, but it's a reminder, in the you that remains, you've recognized that there's nothing like a sunny day. So let me ask you this: how do you enjoy your sunny days now?
Well, I love being outside. What makes a sunny day feel so special is the dark of night, which happens every day. Everything is both sides of the coin. This phrase is spoken many times a week in our house, but life is everything all at once. Somebody's at the top of their game, somebody's barely holding on. Life is the rhythm of the push and the pull. Our heartbeats never stop. It's the squeeze and the release. The squeeze and the release. And that is the rhythm of life. And it's the hard times and then the resolution. It's the tension and then the resolve. And I hope the way that life was intended to be was that the best things you cannot put a price tag on. Sunshine, relationships, a good night's sleep. You know, no matter where you are in the world, human beings are built with a capacity for our senses to appreciate life. I mean, I think that's what makes us reflect God. You know, that we're, if design in the image, if our design is in the image of God, God is love. And if you are somebody that's read any of the Bible, there's so many times it says, out of his good pleasure, he did this for the pleasure set before him. Pleasure and to go. I mean, I don't know any other living thing on the planet that derives so much pleasure from the senses. What we see, you know, music, a sunset, touch, intimacy, taste. It's like, oh my gosh, we're just the mystery of how we're created. And I love, this is Mac McAnally's song, Nothing Like a Sunny Day. And of course, I've heard a lot of his music. I've heard a lot of his stuff that nobody's recorded. And I heard that and went, oh my gosh, no, yes. First off, I've always loved sunlight because it's free.
That's right.
And there's enough room on this globe for everyone to stand in the light. And it does affect the way that things look. And I'm always, whenever I've been camping or if I am outside in the darkness, you know, without light, everything looks gray. You can be in the middle of a colorful garden, but you can't actually distinguish color without light.
That's right.
And then the light comes and it's like, oh my gosh, you know, and just how the brilliance emerges. It's always there, but you can't see it without the light. And Nothing Like a Sunny Day is just a celebration of that.
Any problem that you might be going through, they look smaller from a higher point of view. I think it's time to remind you there's nothing like a sunny day to get you smiling. Nothing like a sunny day to ease your mind and chase those clouds away. All I wanna say is nothing like a sunny day.
You mentioned God, and there's two songs before we wrap up that talk about God. Beautiful Lone Companion. I feel very much as a song in your faith. Also The Saint, another song about sisters. Very, very quickly about Beautiful Lone Companion. The album artwork, which we'll talk about in a second, has your childhood Bible in it. If you could talk to that baby Amy about faith, what's one thing you would say to her right now?
I think I would say, you are loved, loved, loved. And I love the church background I grew up in. We were so cautious to not add or detract anything from Scripture. A few years ago, my sister gave me this little tiny book about a man's experience going through St. Ignatius's spiritual exercises. It piqued my curiosity. I don't know how much you have studied about St. Ignatius, and I haven't read his story in a long time, but you know, he came from means, wealth. He was a champion warrior. He came from privilege, he knew privilege, and then he was wounded. And in his recovery, he read every book that was available to him, and he spent a lot of time in his head, and he fantasized about women, he fantasized about conquests, he fantasized about all kinds of things. And then, he wasn't a spiritual man, but then he also read through a Bible, and he fantasized about God. And with time, what he never tired of was imagining and fantasizing about God. There was an end to everything else. And so it so changed his life that he gave up all the stuff, basically took on a life of rags and riches, and invited other people to experience what it might be. Like he said, if you will do these exercises, there's a possibility that you could encounter God as I did. So a couple of years ago, I thought, well, I'm going to try to do this. But I had been introduced in a spiritual, a religious community to be very cautious, to not do anything wrong. And here was somebody who lived centuries ago who said, whatever it is you imagine, he's bigger, broader, more expansive. But I'd never, even as an adult, felt like I'd been personally invited to imagine myself in every story in the Bible. What did the smoke air smell like? What did the disciples show up? Jesus is cooking fish on the beach. And then what did the fish taste like? What did his voice sound like? What did the invitation? The guys that got out of the boat, what did they smell like? Like, I found myself exploring familiar things to me. And I guess it became very true to me. Knowledge is not the same as relationship. And you can know a lot about somebody, but it's different than how you would articulate. I don't think I'm not making sense even to myself. But Mike Reid wrote a song called Beautiful Lonesome Animal that he played me 7 years ago. And when I heard that song and his beautiful poetry, it ignited something in me, even in my unawakened imagination. And I was like, this is what I dreamed that the presence of God is like. In that beautiful, lonesome animal. 7 years ago, I said, is there any chance you would let me rewrite some of that lyric? And he said, no. Years go by, and I'm singing a private show in Southern California, and I had gone back to his, I had gone back and listened to his song so many times because it revived, it blew on an ember in my heart, something that was so real, and it awakened my imagination, and it made me it was like I felt this big yes. This is what there's truth in this song of his, and it connects the presence of God that I've studied my whole life in the Bible, and the experience of if I imagined love walking in form. And so anyway, I was thinking about that song. I woke up singing that song with lyric changes. I sang it that night for this audience. One of the singers on stage came off, and she's like wiping tears out of her eyes. And I said, the brilliance is Mike Reid. I just changed a few things in the song. And then I felt awful. And I texted him and I said, I did what you asked me not to do. I changed your song. And I sang it for a group last night. And I said, this is what I sang. And then I flew from LA home, and I landed, and he responded to me, and he said, I believe this is what the song always meant to be. And would you join me as a writer on this song? I mean, I cried. I'd loved that song for so long. And that's the one song. We had to do two little fixes in the bridge, but that's the one song that the tracking vocal is the finished vocal.
Okay.
And then Mike heard it, and he said, Amy, of all the songs I've written, the performance of this song, most captures, I don't know what, he said something very complimentary that now I can't remember, but it satisfied him as the person who came up with the idea. And so Beautiful Lonesome Animal became Beautiful Lone Companion. And because of the way that I have seen life through a lens of faith, I welcomed him into that. And he said, I think that's how I always saw it, but then he welcomed that. Anyway, but I'm sitting there going, when he said that to me, I thought, this is a man that helped write I Can't Make You Love Me that Bonnie Raitt sang. And you go, no, that's like the best delivery of a lyric ever. But, just for him as the person that started that song. And
Beautiful.
Yeah, so that was really just, once again, shared creativity, and all the best phrases are his, and he's brilliant. And when the song was done, I said, "Can I come see you?" And there were some more magical things that happened with that song.
You may catch him in the garden if the evening light is good. Is that him moving across the hillside with soldier nails and wood? You may feel him in your body, weighing heavy as a thought. Our every notion of his mind is everything he's not. And he gives to the mountains and the valleys. He sleeps by the rivers and the streams. And he dwells at the edges of the shadows to water your life and deepest dreams. And he moves through ancient contradictions with the grace of a sacred machine. This beautiful lone companion no one's ever seen.
You said something really beautiful. Imagine love walking. That's going to stay with me for a while.